Let's face it, the word retirement used to paint one picture. Florida, a golf cart, a gated condo community, maybe a flamingo lawn ornament or two. But that version of retirement? It's fading. Today's smart retirees aren't just looking for warmth. They're looking for meaning, character, and value. They want places that are vibrant, affordable, and still have some soul left in them, not overpriced coastal clones built for tourists and Botox. They're not asking, where's the nearest country club? They're asking, where can I watch the sunset over the water without watching my savings vanish? Where can I grab seafood that didn't arrive frozen in a truck from 5 states away? Where can I know my neighbors' names and maybe even borrow a crab trap? In this video, we're heading off the beaten path, way off. We're going to explore 5 coastal towns that are flying under the radar, but not for long. These places aren't in glossy brochures. They're not Instagram famous. And thank God, they're not packed with HOA meetings and overpriced kombucha. They're small, they're scrappy, and they just might be exactly what retirement was meant to be: simple, beautiful, real. You'll hear about a salty fishing village that still sings sea shanties, an industrial Gulf town where tacos cost less than a latte, a bayfront community so peaceful it might bore you into bliss, a manatee haven where your kayak is your therapist, and a foggy Oregon escape with crab pies, bogs, and beards. But we won't just give you facts and numbers. We'll show you what life feels like in each of these towns, the people, the prices, the quirks, and the very real trade-offs. So if you're ready to retire from the cliches and into something more authentic, grab your iced tea, leave the gated community behind, because we're about to visit 5 of the best new retirement hotspots, all going coastal. Let's dive in. Our first stop is a town that feels like it was pulled from a storybook, or maybe a pirate journal. Beaufort, North Carolina. Not to be confused with the more polished Beaufort in South Carolina. This one has salt on its skin, history in its bones, and a charm that doesn't try too hard. Founded over 300 years ago, Beaufort is a town where pirate legends aren't marketing. They're memory. Blackbeard's ship, Queen Anne's Revenge, was found just offshore. Walk around the docks, and it's not hard to imagine old sails on the horizon and weathered sailors swapping stories under porches. But make no mistake, this isn't just a museum in disguise. Beaufort is alive, gritty, and wonderfully weird. While much of coastal America has been scrubbed clean for tourists, Beaufort stayed real. Here, you'll see shrimp boats instead of sunset cruises, the smell of sea salt and diesel instead of lavender spa oil. And that's exactly what draws people in. Downtown is compact, walkable, and full of character. Art galleries, mom-and-pop seafood joints, and bars where flip-flops are more common than boat shoes. You don't need a golf cart or a country club card here. You just need a good pair of sandals and a tolerance for locals who might invite you into a conversation that turns into dinner. Here's the catch. It's not bargain basement cheap. The median home price hovers around $416,000, and depending on proximity to the water, it can climb higher. But what you're buying isn't just a roof, it's access to a lifestyle that's hard to fake. You won't find rows of identical homes with names like Seabreeze Retreat in script font. What you will find are quirky cottages, weathered bungalows, and porches that lean just enough to remind you of how old this place really is. If you're downsizing from a metro area like Boston, D.C., or even Raleigh, you might come out ahead. But if you're hoping for $120,000 fixer-uppers, Beaufort probably isn't your catch of the day. Rentals are limited but doable, in the $1,500 to $2,200 range depending on size, season, and luck. Like many small towns, healthcare access is a compromise. There's a hospital in nearby Morehead City, fine for checkups, flu shots, and the occasional, "why does my knee sound like Rice Krispies?" moment. But for anything major, heart surgery, advanced imaging, or specialists, you're headed to New Bern or Greenville 45 plus minutes away. So yes, you'll trade convenience for quiet. But many retirees do just that, especially when they're still active and only need basic care a few times a year. Let's be clear, Beaufort is hot and humid. Summers feel like the air is hugging you, and not in a gentle grandma kind of way. But the winters, mild. A light jacket is usually enough. No snowstorms, no scraping windshields. That alone is enough reason some people pack up their lives and head south. Still, this is the Atlantic coast. So, hurricane season is real. It's not a question of if, but when. You might spend 360 days sipping sweet tea on your porch, and then one day securing your windows and hoping your neighbor's grill doesn't end up in your kitchen. Locals don't panic. They prepare. And then they laugh about it over seafood when the power comes back on. Statistically speaking, Beaufort's crime rate is a little above national averages. You've got about a 1 in 62 chance of being a crime victim, with petty theft more common than violence. This isn't a town where you live in fear, but it's also not one where you leave your fishing gear in the truck bed unlocked. Lock your shed, bolt your bike, respect the place, and it'll respect you back. Here's the truth. People don't retire in Beaufort because of data. They stay because it feels like home, even if you've never been there before. This is a town where the bartender knows your name and your dogs. The fish you're eating was swimming 6 hours ago. The guy fixing your porch might also be the lead singer in a pirate folk band on Friday nights. You'll lose a beach chair or two in the wind. You might curse during a power outage, but you'll also find something more rare than beachfront views. Belonging. If Beaufort is a pirate story wrapped in a postcard, then Freeport, Texas is something else entirely. It's not trying to charm you. It doesn't care about aesthetics. And yet, it might be the smartest move you ever make. Freeport is not pretty, but it is powerful. Here, shrimp boats dock beside chemical plants. The smell of salt mixes with industrial grit. And retirees who move here, they're not chasing luxury, they're chasing value. And they're finding it in spades. Let's get something out of the way. Freeport is not a beach town from a magazine cover. You won't find artisan candle shops or paddleboard yoga. What you'll find instead, steel, history, shrimp, and deals. Nestled along the Gulf Coast, Freeport's shoreline isn't about lounging, it's about working. Dow Chemical has been here since 1939, and Freeport LNG now owns much of the port infrastructure. It's a town built on labor, salt air, and reliability. And in a strange twist, that makes it a hidden gem for those who care more about real life than real estate envy. Here's where Freeport blows other coastal towns out of the water. Home prices. We're talking a median price around $145,000. In some cases, even less. Depending on the listing, you could land a 3-bedroom home for what some retirees pay for a parking spot in Naples. Even rentals stay reasonable, $600 to $800 a month, often with yards, not just rooms. That means if you're retiring on Social Security, you won't need to cannibalize your savings just to see the Gulf. Of course, not every home has ocean views, but if you don't mind a modest street or a little factory backdrop, you'll find the freedom to retire without constant financial stress. Freeport's cost of living is below the national average, especially in housing, groceries, and utilities. You won't be splurging on artisan bakeries, but then again, you won't need to. A seafood meal runs under $15. Gas is cheaper than most coastal regions, and for a town near water, it's impressively grounded. Like Beaufort, Freeport doesn't have a major hospital, but it has clinics and urgent care centers for common needs. Have a cold? Flu shot? Need a blood test? No problem. Need a cardiologist or a major scan? You're heading to Lake Jackson, Angleton, or even Houston, depending on the level of care. That may mean longer drives, especially for specialist visits, but it also means lower everyday medical costs and less red tape. This is a place where people still know their nurses' names, not just their copay codes. It's Texas, so yes, it's hot, really hot, and humid enough to turn your morning walk into a full-body workout. But winters? Barely noticeable. You'll go months without touching a sweater, and when that Gulf breeze hits in the evenings, it almost feels like redemption for the sticky afternoons. But, and this is a big one, hurricane season is serious here. You'll want storm shutters, a generator, and a solid insurance plan. The good news? The locals are pros. Prep isn't panic. It's just part of the calendar. Crime data here is mixed. Neighborhood Scout gives it a 1 in 134 chance for violent crime and 1 in 62 for property crime. Nextdoor and Niche paint a slightly friendlier picture. So what's the truth? Like many industrial towns, it depends on the block. Some neighborhoods feel like sleepy suburbs. Others, especially near the port, can be rougher after dark. But if you lock your doors, know your neighbors, and avoid wandering into unlit streets at 2 a.m., you're safer than the stats suggest. This isn't cops' territory. But it's also not crime-free. Be aware. Be practical. One of the most overlooked perks of Freeport? The people. It's a blue-collar town. No one cares what car you drive. No one cares if your grass is perfectly trimmed. They care if you wave, if you tip decently, if you mind your crab traps. Over half the population is Hispanic or Latino, giving the town a vibrant cultural blend, from street food to music festivals. The vibe here is real. It's the opposite of curated, and that's its magic. You'll hear Spanish, English, and the occasional Cajun accent, all over seafood tacos at a dockside bar. Freeport isn't for everyone. If you need prestige, polish, or a pristine beach, you'll be disappointed. But if you want a coastal lifestyle that doesn't bankrupt you, a home you can actually own, a community that waves before it judges, then Freeport might just be your kind of crazy. You won't retire in style, but you might retire in peace, with a fishing rod in one hand and a cold beer in the other. Imagine this. You're sitting on your porch. A pelican lands silently on a nearby piling. The air smells like salt and pine. You're sipping iced tea, and not the bottled kind. There's no traffic, no HOA meeting, and no one's asking you to sign a petition about lawn decorations. This is Lillian, Alabama, and it just might be the best retirement town you've never heard of. Population? About 1,300, which means in Lillian it's entirely possible you'll know more dogs by name than people. And you'll still be able to borrow a crab pot or a kayak from either one. This isn't a town for people who need nightlife or noise. It's a place for those who want to wake up slowly, walk barefoot to the bay, and let the hours drift by like the tide. So, what's the cost of this quiet? Surprisingly affordable, with a touch of variety. The median home price in Lillian is around $244,000, give or take, depending on your view and your willingness to paint your own porch. That's only slightly above the Alabama state average, which hovers around $234,000, a steal when you compare it to most towns near water. Even the fancier bayfront homes, with wraparound decks and moonlight reflections, rarely push past the low 300Ks. And you know what's even better? No one here is flipping houses to make a quick buck. It's not about investment. It's about settling in. Now let's be honest. Walkability in Lillian is more poetic than practical. You can stroll down a dirt road to the pier or meander past moss-draped trees, but you'll still need a car or a kayak to get to most things. There's a gas station, a post office, a bait shop, maybe a small cafe if you're lucky. But Target, Costco, those live about 40 minutes away. If you've always dreamed of owning a tractor, this might be the one place where that fantasy is socially acceptable. Here's the trade-off. Healthcare access is basic. There's a small clinic in town, perfect for minor stuff like flu shots, prescriptions, and checking whether that weird mole is just a freckle. But for anything major, surgeries, scans, specialists, you'll be headed to Foley, Daphne, or even Pensacola, which is about 30-40 minutes by car. Is that ideal? No. Is it manageable? Absolutely. Because the peace you get in return is the kind that doesn't show up on insurance forms. Welcome to the Gulf Coast. Summers are humid, the kind of sticky that makes sunscreen feel like soup. But winters? Soft, mild, and hoodie approved. You'll spend December grilling outside, not shoveling snow. Which sounds like a good deal until hurricane season rolls in. Storms don't hit every year, but when they do, they test your prep game. Locals keep generators on standby, plywood stacked, and storm shutters within arm's reach. It's not fear, it's just routine. Want peace of mind? Lillian delivers. Violent crime rate, about 0.75 per 1,000 people. roughly 1 in 1,330 chance, lower than most US towns. Property crime, about 2.26 per 1,000, roughly 1 in 443 chance. It's not a crime-free utopia, but it's significantly safer than 80% plus of America's towns, according to Area Vibes and Neighborhood Scout. Worst case scenario, you forget to lock your shed and someone borrows your crab cage. That's not crime, that's breakfast karma. Lillian isn't trendy. It's not a wellness retreat or an artist's colony. It's a town where you wave to your neighbor every time, even if you just waved 30 minutes ago. The local bartender knows what brand of lawnmower you own, and your wild night out might involve sitting by the bay watching birds dive for fish. Over 89% of the population is white, and it's largely made up of retirees, working folks, and locals who never really saw a reason to leave. The community is tight-knit, but not uptight. If your string lights don't match your neighbors, no one's writing a letter to the HOA, because there isn't one. If you've ever felt burned out by city life, the noise, the pressure, the pace, Lillian might be exactly the reset you need. You won't find 5-star dining. You might not find a reliable espresso machine, but you'll find kayak sunsets, pelican neighbors, porch chairs that become therapy sessions, and mornings where time feels like it's finally on your side. Here, retirement isn't a finish line, it's a front porch. If your idea of retirement includes sunshine, wildlife, and zero pressure to impress anyone, Crystal River, Florida might just be your spiritual home. This is the kind of place where manatees glide beside your kayak, where seafood is simple, affordable, and probably caught that morning, where no one cares about your car, your watch brand, or your lawn. And yes, you really can swim with wild manatees here. Tucked along Florida's nature coast, this little town of about 3,400 people flies under the radar. And that's exactly how the locals like it. You won't find loud boardwalks, endless condo towers, or overpriced souvenir shops. What you will find is Kings Bay, a natural spring-fed bay that stays a cool 72 degrees off year-round, drawing in not just manatees, but retirees who want something real. Yes, they call Crystal River Manatee Haven, and they're not kidding. Each winter, dozens of these gentle sea cows roll in like vacationers who forgot to leave. And they don't just appear, they hang out. If you've never had a manatee float silently past your kayak, glance at your sun hat, and silently judge your life choices, you haven't lived. This is the only place in the US where it's legal to swim with wild manatees, not in a zoo, not in a cage, in their natural spring-fed spa, shoulder to flipper. Let's get to the numbers. Median home price, about $282,000 average rent, roughly $1,600 month cost of living, around 14% lower than the national average, especially in food and housing translation. You can live in Florida without paying the Disney tax. Of course, waterfront properties go higher, but compared to Sarasota or Naples, this place is a bargain wrapped in tranquility. Crystal River has its own 128-bed hospital, operated by Tampa General Health, enough to handle checkups, emergencies, and basic procedures. Need more advanced care or specialists? You're about 60-90 minutes from Gainesville or Tampa, both medical hubs with top-tier hospitals. It's not right next door, but for most retirees it's comfortably within reach. You won't need to board a helicopter, just plan your appointments ahead. Summers here bake you slowly, like shrimp on a dock grill. Humidity? Thick enough to chew. But somehow, it doesn't feel punishing. It feels Florida authentic. Winters, meanwhile, are hoodie level. No snow, no ice. Just a reason to wear long sleeves once a year and pretend you're in a Hallmark movie. Hurricane season exists, of course, but direct hits are rare. Locals treat tropical storms like seasonal visitors. Annoying, but manageable. And besides, it gives you a good reason to test your generator and bake cookies indoors. Let's get honest. It's not utopia, but it's close. Violent crime rate. About 1 in 439 property crime. Roughly 1 in 121. Overall, about 59% lower than the Florida average. Most incidents involve minor theft or the occasional argument over dock space. So yes, lock your doors, but no need to install panic rooms. You're more likely to misplace your garden gnome than get mugged here. Crystal River leans older and slower. 46% of residents are 65 plus, and that's a feature, not a flaw. There's a soft rhythm here. Mornings start with coffee and a glance at the bay. Afternoons are for spring tours, bird watching, or maybe a nap evenings. Seafood, good beer, and someone casually talking about how they saw 3 manatees and a snapping turtle before breakfast. This isn't the Florida of retirement jokes. It's the Florida of retired teachers, park rangers, nurses, and kayak instructors who just want peace. Despite its sleepy vibe, Crystal River has its share of fun, in its own unique, non-touristy way. Kayak tours through clear blue springs, dive bars with handwritten menus, and no dress code. Manatee festivals, wildlife tours, and local markets, seafood joints where the shrimp tacos do not come with kale foam. Don't come here for neon lights. Come here for starry skies, lazy afternoons, and wildlife that doesn't charge admission. If you've ever felt like the world is too loud, too fast, and too expensive, Crystal River might just be the answer you didn't know you were asking for. It won't dazzle you with nightlife, but it will hug you with stillness. You'll sip coffee by spring-fed water. You'll wave at your manatee neighbors. And someday, you'll wonder how you ever thought retirement needed a gated community or a golf cart. Let's flip the script on retirement for a second. What if you're not into palm trees? What if you actually like the fog? What if your dream isn't a hammock on the beach, but a porch that faces the Pacific, while clouds roll in like some ancient sea poem? Welcome to Bandon, Oregon, the kind of place where sweaters outnumber swimsuits, and peace doesn't come with palm trees. It comes with pine. Located on the southern Oregon coast, Bandon is home to about 3,300 people, most of whom either work locally, are semi-retired creatives, or have intentionally run away from fast-paced cities to rediscover their own rhythm. This isn't a beach party town. It's a foggy day, knit-your-own-socks kind of town. A place where strangers still wave and dogs run off leash in the mist. Oregon's reputation for high cost of living doesn't hit as hard here. You'll find homes in Bandon ranging from $180,000 for a fixer-upper cottage to $500,000 plus for ocean view retreats. Most buyers fall somewhere in the $280K, $350K range. Yes, groceries are pricier, organic everything is the norm here, and some things, like hardware or appliances, may require a trip inland. But there's no sales tax in Oregon, which offsets the boutique pricing on local kombucha and cranberry scones. Rentals? Harder to find, and often seasonal. But if you're flexible, you can still score a cozy place under $1,500 a month, sometimes with a garden and a view. Let's talk rain, because you're going to see a lot of it. Bandon averages over 60 inches of rain per year, mostly from October through May. If you don't already own a raincoat, you will. But here's the thing. The rain isn't depressing here. It's poetic, reflective. A reason to make soup and read paperbacks and listen to records again. Summers are mild, highs in the 60s to low 70s. Winters rarely dip below the 40s. You'll never need air conditioning, and you'll probably start measuring seasons by how many sweaters you wore, not how many lawn mowings you did. According to multiple sources, violent crime in Bandon is nearly non-existent. In some years, it literally records 0 incidents. Property crime exists, minor theft, a stolen crab trap now and then, but overall, the town ranks 10 to 15% below national averages. You can leave your bike unlocked here and still find it where you left it. Your biggest security risk might be a raccoon raiding your compost bin. For its size, Bandon is well equipped. The Southern Coos Hospital offers general care, emergency services, and outpatient treatments. It's clean, quiet, and locally staffed. For major procedures, you're about 30-60 minutes from larger facilities in Coos Bay or Eugene. And because this is Oregon, health-conscious living, walking, biking, clean food is more lifestyle than trend. Bandon might not have shopping malls or Michelin stars, but it has crab pies, cranberry festivals, and the kind of sunsets that make you pause mid-sentence. It's home to Bandon Dunes, one of the most prestigious golf resorts in the world. Golfers from across the globe visit to battle the coastal wind and whisper about their short game. It's also home to cranberry bogs, seriously, and entire local events dedicated to the tart little fruit. Cranberry beer, cranberry salsa, cranberry candles. If you hated them at Thanksgiving, prepare to reconsider. And if golf or berries aren't your thing, there's always driftwood carving clubs, bakery open mics, quiet oceanfront walks, and a small town farmer's market where you'll meet the same tomato guy every week. Bandon's population skews older, but mentally younger. This is where ex-librarians, retired art teachers, and burned-out software engineers come to reboot their lives with sourdough and solitude. People care about compost, about kindness, and about keeping Bandon weird, in the best possible way. You don't need to fit in, you just need to show up, maybe with a pie. Bandon isn't for everyone. If you need sun every day, this place will test you. But if you've ever thought, I wish I had time to write again, I'd like to grow my own vegetables. What if I didn't feel rushed ever again? Then Bandon might not just be a place. It might be a reset button. You won't find golf carts here. You'll find rain boots. You won't hear honking. You'll hear foghorns. And if you listen carefully, you might hear something else. Yourself. So now you've seen them. 5 places you've probably never visited, but might just want to retire in. From the weathered docks of Beaufort, where pirate stories still linger in the sea mist, to the industrial honesty of Freeport, where you can stretch your savings without stretching the truth, to the porch swing quiet of Lillian, where your neighbor is more likely to offer lemonade than opinions, to the manatee watching mornings in Crystal River, where simplicity swims right up beside you, and finally to Bandon, where fog and reflection become part of your daily rhythm. They're not perfect, they're not flashy, they're not selling a fantasy, but what they do offer is something most retirees say they want, but rarely find. Community that feels real, not rehearsed affordability, that respects your retirement income. Charm that hasn't been focus grouped, and a pace of life that lets you breathe. Finally, retirement isn't about quitting life. It's about choosing the version of life you actually want to live. For some, that means a Florida condo and tea times. But for others, it means shrimp tacos, sea spray, and neighbors who wave just because. And the truth is, you don't need luxury to live richly. You don't need HOA rules to feel safe. And you definitely don't need to spend $1 million to feel like you're finally home. So if you've been daydreaming of something different, something quieter, simpler, more human, maybe it's time to stop asking, where should I retire? And start asking, where can I still feel alive? Because one of these 5 towns, Beaufort, Freeport, Lillian, Crystal River, or Bandon, might just be your next chapter. And who knows? Your best days might be waiting at the end of a dock in a town nobody told you about until now.